Okay, today I'm going to, I was going to replace the upper and lower control arms for this 1998 Honda CRV. It's my mom's car. The mechanic told my mom that, and my sister, that it was going to be $800 to replace the whole set. And here's the new lower, either the right or left, I'm not sure. And getting the tire off, this is what I'm looking at. This, of course, is the lower down here, and you can see where it connects down here, and then it connects right there. And then there's a place where it connects to the bushing and part of the hub, wheel hub, or whatever you call it. And there's a bushing that's in there. Now, in order to get to that bushing, it looks like I have to somehow get it pulled up on the top there. I don't know. If after taking the upper and lower control arms off this thing, the rotor starts to flip and gives me access to that, I don't know. But I noticed that on the driver's side, when I shake it, nothing moves. Everything seems to be in place. Here's the upper control arm right here. Bushing doesn't look terribly well, but it's not moving. Everything looks good over here. It just doesn't move. But the real problem is, and you can feel it when you're driving the car for sure, is that on the passenger side, when I shake it, you can see that whole thing moves. And if you can see, it's because of that bushing back there on the lower control arm. It's shot, and over here as well, it's not in good shape. And so for that reason, I want to replace it. As far as the top goes, I'm not even sure. I'm gonna have to get something in there, shake it around, and see what happens. But as of now, I'm gonna try to save my mom some money and just replace this and see if I can get away with it. The mechanic was saying that, you know, once this thing goes, obviously it's going to be dangerous if it breaks off. I can't see it breaking off myself, but with it knocking around like that, it's probably just a matter of time. So getting a new bushing in there, replacing the whole arm. The bushing and the arm comes together when you buy it. So getting that stabilized is going to keep it from knocking around. It's going to drive better without making noise, and it's also going to keep it from moving, which is a possibility that it's going to break off eventually, and that would be very dangerous, obviously. So I'm going to replace that at least. It looks like, you know, I've got a couple bolts here to take off to bring this part down, and then a bolt over here to take off. And I've got to remove this bolt here, and of course there's one underneath there to take off, and over here where the strut is connecting to it as well. So that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, so basically I've got this bolt off right here, and as I said before, I wanted to replace that bushing, but I'm not sure offhand how I'm going to get to that, because it's got to come out on this end right here. But I'm not going to worry about that right now. I've got this stabilizer deal here. I forgot what it's called exactly. This thing keeps spinning when you take this nut off. This bolt has an Allen wrench that you can put in here to keep it from spinning, because this whole piece spins. In order to get to that, put an Allen wrench in there. You've got to take this, you know, where this strut is coming down here to the bottom control arm. You got to take that off there. It's just a bolt on this end. Pretty easy. Then you got to use a hammer and a screwdriver to kind of work the bolt off. And getting that back in might be a chore, but we'll see. Now I have access to get this off. I'm not sure if I want to need to replace these or not. That I'm not sure about, but we'll see. Oh, god damn. Okay, so looking at the control arms, like I said before, I got the bolt off here. I got the strut loose here. I got the stabilizer thingy over there loose. Working on this side. This is the part that's shot. There is no rubber at all in there. It's just banging around. So you just basically, I got a bolt that's going to come out here. I've loosened it. I can see that water leaking. I think it's from the air conditioning. I hope so. It's not slick. It's not, you know, oily, so it should be just water. I think that's all that is. Anyway, there it is. Now, as you can see, we've already got a problem. I can't get this out because something's in the way. Oh, maybe I can work at it. Anyway, I want to work at it, and if it's straightforward, I won't comment on the video, but I'll just, I'm going to have to turn this off right now. Okay, so underneath the car again, here's the other side. Like I said, I got this part loose, but I can't get the bolt out. So I'm going to work on this end of the lower control arm. And basically I just got these 3 bolts to take off. And then this thing will come out and hopefully slide through this bar here. And of course I'm going to hammer this out of here. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, what I'm working on right now is on this bottom passenger side control arm. I'm at a standstill right now because I've got this bolt loose. It's ready to come out. But as you can see, there's something in the way. So without making the situation worse than it is, I'm not sure how to get this out of here. So I'm gonna pause it and just wiggle this thing around and hopefully not get tempted to bend this thing out of here because it's almost ready to come out. And see if I can get it out. That's all I can do, folks. And I'll get back with you, see if I was successful. Okay, one thing I did was I loosened this stabilizer deal that was on the lower bar here. And so now this thing is hanging. I've still got the problem with that bolt. I cannot get it out because, you know, there's something in the way. And I just don't know. But it's almost wanting to come out. I'm going to keep playing with it and see what I can do. But yeah, you want to take this thing out first. And what I use is a screwdriver, hit it from this end to break it free from you know, this thing right here. I just use a hammer and a screwdriver. Got it out of there. Alright, so I succeeded getting this off, or I almost got it off. Basically what I did, what you're going to have to do when it seems like it's loose and it doesn't go any farther, it's wiggling, you're gonna basically come up to the engine. It's gonna be tucked under here. What I did is, even though it was tucked under here, I simply got the wrench, 19mm, and just started tugging it, and now I've got it free from the engine, as you can see. So it seems like there's no more thread to be pulled out of this area here, but I guess there's just a little bit more. So when you go as far as you can go and you're banging against this trying to get it off, use a 19mm to clear this thing. I'm going to shut the camera off now, continue using the 19mm. Well, there it goes. So that's it. So now the next thing is it looks like on this other side here, right here, it looks like I'm going to have to take this thing off. That rubber piece, there's a, well, I'll show you. I'll get on the other end and show you what we got to do. Okay, so we broke free. The only thing this lower control arm is being held up by is this pipe right here. And looks like the only way to pull it through here is, gosh, I don't know. I'm gonna have to, looks like I'm gonna have to take this bolt off and slide this whole piece off to get the rest of this part out. So unless I find out something different, I'll come back on the camera and talk about it. But I want to take this off. Hopefully this piece will come off. It'll slide underneath this pipe. And I can start the reverse order, getting the new one in. Okay, so yeah, took the bolt off, as you can see, and then you got this rubber thing here that has to slide off. And there's the old piece. That's it. And that's where that part came from. And this is, of course, this is the part that's shot. This is the one what's been banging back and forth. And here's the new one. So the new one is basically got the same piece. This is going to have to come off. And yeah, we're just going to reverse it. Hopefully it's the same piece, right? Looks like it. Okay. So we're going to do the reverse thing, and if I have any problems, I'll bring it back on the camera. Okay, so I've got that hand tightened. I tightened this all the way on that end there, and I've got these 3 bolts hand tightened. And of course I've got this part here hand tightened. Basically, next step is to bring this bar up here, and I've got to get this stabilizer thingy in here, start that up, and then I've got to get this stabilizer in here. But actually, before I do that, I'm gonna make sure I can get it here where this bushing is. And like I said, I'm not going to replace this right now. It seems okay. It's not my expert opinion, but I'm going to get this up here. I don't want this to be a safety hazard. That's the main thing. And of course, it's got to hold an alignment, you know. So hopefully it will. Like I said, hopefully this is in good shape. It seems like it is. And instead of $800, I'm only paying $79 for this part. And if I need to replace both sides of the upper and the other driver's side of the lower stabilizer, I will. Okay, the one thing I've got it all in. This is the last piece I got to put in here. Then I've got to tighten the bolts in the back. I decided to put this top upper control arm in because and I ended up the bolt was stripped. The threads were stripped, so I had to replace it, and I thought it was a good idea anyway. And the only thing I have to say is getting this back on in line with this hole back here, with that bushing on the bottom below the oh, what do you call it? The rotor and the brake mechanism is the bolt. Lining that up in that hole was really hard, very hard. In fact, I spent a lot of time getting to do it. It seems that this rod right here, whatever this is, I don't know what it's called, but this comes out of this out a little bit, and getting it back in is just almost impossible. So what I finally did is I finally took this part off, which allowed me to bend this whole thing forward, and this rotor came forward like this, which allowed me to get that piece in that hole. Then I still had this part, which I couldn't bring forward to line up with this bolt. But after just banging around with it for a long time, moving this around, it finally pushed up in there. That rod, whatever it does, that is a joint. It pushed up enough that it let me line this up, and I got it on. But just beware of that. When you take this stuff apart, it's best to make sure that you have something holding it in place so it doesn't come out. Because once this rod comes out, it's hell to get back in there, trust me. I've had this problem with another car, a Toyota as a matter of fact, so I guess it's with just about every car. But that's it right there. It comes out a little bit, enough that you can't line it up, and pushing it back in. This thing's heavy, and it just was not easy. Again, I had to fit it down below, take this out, and then I had to work with this, and then I had a new problem, but then I got it back in place. And as far as replacing this upper control arm with this 1998 Honda CRV, you're going to have to take the air box out to access the bolt here. You're going to have to take the battery out, and this bottom plate, I just bent it. There's another bolt here. I'll just bend it back to put the 2 bolts I took out in there. And then you have access to the bolt right there. You can see that. And that's about it. Tighten the back up, and there's no more play. It's just fine. So it was going to be $800. I spent, $79 for the bottom one, $50 for the top upper control arm on this side. I'm not going to mess with the other side unless they can't do an alignment. I'm not going to worry about it because it doesn't seem to be moving around. This was the worst. It was banging, making loud noises when you drive, and it was probably dangerous. So that's it, folks. Then you just put the tires on, I'm going to test drive it.